All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating mastermind debrief from August 21st, 2026. We are going to be exploring a totally counterintuitive concept that top-tier operators use to scale their businesses. We're talking about why the power of saying no is actually one of the most underrated yet completely, absolutely crucial growth strategies out there right now. Honestly, if you've ever felt completely drowned by client demands or caught yourself doing work you never actually agreed to do, this breakdown is going to completely change how you operate.
So I want you to ask yourself a seriously tough question. Is saying yes ruining your business? I know, it's a harsh reality check, but here is the hard truth straight from our source material. Saying yes to misaligned opportunities, it's a massive trap. Sure, it feels amazing in the moment because, hey, you're securing revenue or making a client smile, but lacking the skill and the sheer discipline to say no ultimately leads to severe burnout, operational chaos, and even personal health crises. Being the ultimate yes person isn't a badge of honor, you guys. It's a bottleneck.
Now, the core theme of this specific Friday Wins Mastermind session really zeroed in on protecting your time and setting incredibly firm expectations. This is way beyond just basic time management. It's about separating yourself from the pack and establishing yourself as a true premium operator, someone who goes way deeper with fewer engagements rather than spreading themselves dangerously thin. Section 1, Growth Partner versus Order Taker. Think about it like this. There is a massive, fundamental difference between simply being a marketing order taker and actually positioning yourself as a growth partner. An order taker is basically a human drive-through. They say yes to every shiny new idea the client tosses their way, constantly pivoting, just executing completely random marketing requests. But a growth partner? They stand their ground. They stick strictly to the mutually agreed upon strategy. They actually have the confidence to push back and say, no, you know what, that's not what we decided. And here's exactly why we're staying the course. Just that one shift in mindset elevates your value immensely. Moving right along to Section 2, Setting Ironclad Client Boundaries. Look, managing boundaries on the front end is absolutely non-negotiable if you want to scale sustainably. You just can't build a premium business on a shaky foundation. These mastermind operators insist that all front-end contracts must be rock solid. That means you require clients to physically initial specific clauses so they can never come back and claim they didn't read them. You have to establish strictly defined scope boundaries, exactly what you're going to do, and just as importantly, what you will not do. You build in undeniable late fees to protect your cash flow, and you include explicit fire policies that outline the exact behaviors that will get them instantly terminated. Now, to really drive that last point home, this is a rule you absolutely have to be willing to enforce. If you put a fire policy clause in your contract and the client still flat out refuses to implement the agreed strategy or do their part, you must terminate the relationship with zero refund, period. I know it sounds aggressive, but holding on to a client who simply won't do the work drains your energy, ruins your case studies, and completely blocks you from finding someone who will actually succeed with your frameworks. Okay, you might actually want to write this one down. Extra requests are line items, not freebies. How many times have you done just a really quick favor for a client and then looked up and realized it took you 3 hours? You've got to build scope change pricing directly into your proposals right from day one. When you set that expectation early, any extra request naturally just becomes a paid line item rather than unpaid, totally stressful scope creep. You know, setting boundaries isn't just about contracts, right? It's also about how you actually communicate. You have to adapt your communication style to your client's specific personality to maintain your authority. So for your analytical clients, you've got to use a strictly data-driven approach. Give them the numbers, the metrics, the ROIs. But for your feeling-driven clients, pouring spreadsheets over their heads just isn't going to work. You need to focus on the emotional impact and the much broader vision of the work you're doing together. Speaking their language minimizes friction and completely reinforces your role as the expert. All right, Section 3. The Premium Execution Playbook. $20,000. Just let that number sink in for a second. For a lot of independent operators out there, hitting $20K a month in recurring revenue is a massive, massive milestone. And if you look at it as one giant mountain to climb, it feels super daunting. But the debrief actually breaks this down into a highly strategic, totally achievable formula. The math here is actually beautiful in its simplicity. Step 1, target $5,000 a month per client. Step 2, acquire exactly 4 premium clients. Yep, that's it, just 4. Step 3, to make that happen, you must ruthlessly prioritize high-ticket outreach over share volume. You're not out there hunting for 50 clients paying you $400 anymore. You are curating a micro roster of exactly 4 premium partners. This perfectly ties back to our core theme,
going deeper with fewer engagements.
Now, a huge psychological hurdle people hit when charging $5,000 a month is time justification, the whole imposter syndrome thing. But remember this, charging a premium reflects your deep domain knowledge, not the raw hours you spend hunched over a keyboard. This is so vital today. If AI lets you execute a strategy in 2 hours instead of 20, that speed absolutely does not reduce the value of the outcome you're providing. The client is paying for the result and your strategic brain, not your time card.
So, to actually deliver that kind of high-level value, the mastermind relies on a few core frameworks. I'll rattle these off quickly so you can see how they structure things. First, they use a 90-day sprint as their absolute minimum engagement, so no quick one-off projects. Next, they evaluate every opportunity using the success pyramid, making sure they have the right you, right knowledge, right vehicle, and right timing. They also lean on a content revenue system. And finally, they operate on the simple equation that visibility plus credibility equals profitability, specifically noting that sponsoring other communities drives massive brand and relationship equity that just compounds over time.
And the best part? These high-level operators are always evolving. Like, a brand new intellectual framework was just proposed by a member named Judas. He calls it the my way only fallacy. And it's actually currently routed to pending decisions for official adoption by the whole group. It just goes to show you that true premium growth partners never stop refining their mental models or challenging their own assumptions.
Which brings us to Section 4, Mastermind Wins and Momentum.
Looking at the actual community intel log from that Friday, you can literally see the accountability happening in real time. This isn't just some abstract theory. This is a real snapshot of these operators executing on their strict boundaries and their premium positioning, tracking the person, their update, and the required follow-up.
I mean, check out some of these specific Friday wins. Kaveh successfully put his alpha content behind a paywall and is actively cooking up high-level collaborations with Jason and Justin. Christelle had a massive week, both personally and professionally. She is incredibly 9 days sober, successfully niching her business into children's nonprofits, and just launched her 4th workshop. And Danielle is out there showing insane resilience, moving 2 whole books to Audible and managing trademarking, all while handling the heavy responsibility of executor duties for her father's estate. And the momentum just keeps going. We see Ben executing by co-hosting an MVP webinar right after a pitch. Timo is investing heavily in his own environment, upgrading his access level to the Samurai Sword plan and running a full-day downtown workshop. And of course, like we mentioned earlier, Judas brought a completely new framework to the table to elevate the entire group. This is exactly what happens when you finally strip away the busy work of being an order taker. You actually get your energy back to achieve major wins.
All right, wrapping things up with their immediate execution checklist. Their shared to-do list involves continuing that high-ticket outreach to hit that exact 4-client 5K target, executing Ben's webinar, taking the content from this very Friday session and atomizing it out across 14 different platforms. And I love this last one, a physical challenge, knocking out the final 20 miles of a grueling 100-mile bike week, because mental sharpness absolutely requires physical discipline.
So here is the big question I'm leaving you with today. Based on everything we've just unpacked about protecting your time, locking in those ironclad contracts, and demanding premium value for your brain, what misaligned opportunity are you going to say no to today? Because the second you start saying no to the wrong things, you finally clear the space to say yes to the growth you actually deserve.